Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining the Get Up with Hannah YouTube. Today I wanted to get a little bit more personal with you guys and talk about body image and kind of the perception of it in our society. I think there's a lot of body image love going on, which is great, but it's also a little bit unrealistic. And what I mean by that is you can have a good body image day and you can have a bad body image day, and just forcing yourself to love yourself is not necessarily going to make you actually love your body even more. When I work with my clients around intuitive eating, we work on body acceptance or body liberation as opposed to body love. And the reason why that is because it's okay to not love your body. Maybe you love your body sometimes, maybe you don't, maybe you've always struggled with that, and it's okay. Don't feel bad because society has pushed all this body love on you. And with that being said, I wanted to talk about my experience with having a bad body image day that just recently happened to me. So I went to Vegas over the weekend. I was there for 4 days. It was a fun time. Had so much fun with family and friends, but what I noticed was that I started getting pulled back into my old ways. And what I mean by that is I used to count macros. I was very strict on my calorie macro counting. I had a six-pack. I was super shredded, but it also led to body image issues if I didn't look that way. And so as I moved to intuitive eating, obviously I'm not as shredded as I used to be, and I'm learning how to accept that. And one of the biggest things for me is when I start to get pulled into that negative space, I have to have ways of coping with it and ways of helping me in the moment so that I don't turn my whole day into having negative mindset and having anxiety for the whole day. So what happened when I went to Vegas was we went to pool parties and everyone's in bikinis, and I started looking around comparing myself to other people. And one of the things I noticed was I was just pointing out all the females who looked super amazing in their swimsuits, and I just didn't feel that great about myself. And what kept coming up for me was, damn Hannah, you used to have a six-pack back in the day. You would look so much better if you look like that now. And I actually did something that you should not do. Started going through Facebook images of myself when I was younger and seeing how much more shredded I was back then. And it just really led me down this negative hole of, should I count macros again? Well, if you do it for 1 month, maybe you'll look better for summer. And what I noticed was I was starting to get pulled back into that diet mentality, and I needed to find ways to get myself out of it. So I want to share a couple of the things that I like to do when I start to see that I'm getting pulled back into this diet mentality based on society's pressure of diet culture and trying to look thin and trying to look ripped and trying to find weight loss all the time. The first thing that is super important is to know if you are having a bad body image day, it is okay. Everyone goes through it. And the way you're feeling is temporary. That is the biggest thing to remember. Every feeling that you have is temporary. Normally for me, my bad body image days last a day, a couple days. I end up eventually getting out of it. So in the moment when I'm feeling negative, sad, depressed, anxious, I have to tell myself that this is temporary and I'm not going to feel this way for the rest of my life. So that's number one. The second thing I do when I start pulling myself into that diet mentality of should I count macros again? Maybe if I just got a little bit leaner, I'd feel better about myself. I have to remind myself that that's actually true. And what I mean by that is I have to pull back how I felt in my past. So when I was in my past, like I said, super strict on my diet, I would, if I went out with friends, I would feel guilty about overindulging. I would end up binging because those foods that were surrounding me during those events were not readily available. So I would overeat those foods, feel shame and guilt the next day about it, and then I would over-exercise to burn more calories to compensate. All of these things they're very toxic. And as I've shifted out of the diet mentality into food freedom, I have not had those tendencies. I have not been binging. I've been able to eat ice cream until I'm satisfied and then put it away. Before I couldn't do that, I would eat the entire pint. So what I like to do, and this is something you can try too, if you want to write it down, you can. Write down a list of all the diets that you've done and how those diets have made you feel. First thing, think about, did you see results? If you saw results, was it in the short term or the long term? Because the thing about diets is that 95% of people are going to gain the weight back or more after they actually come out of that diet. So that's what I want you to remember. Did you actually see results? And I like to tell people, if you saw results and then you gained it back, that does not mean your diet works. The only way a diet would work is if you lost weight and you were able to maintain it in the long term, which is very unlikely to happen just because your body does not work off of starvation. So what I want you to do is write down the diets that you've done in the past. I want you to write down by it if those actually worked for you in the long term. And then I want you to write down how you felt and also what you had to lose in order to do those diets. What did you have to do? Maybe it was like skipping events, not hanging out with friends, or the feelings that you felt while you were hanging out with friends, like anxious and anxiety around food, or maybe it led to binging, or maybe it led to depression and anxiety around food. So what that's going to do, it's going to help us show the damage that dieting has done and also how toxic it is as a whole. So that's the number one thing I want you to try to remember when you're trying to get back out of this bad body image state. Write down your past experiences so you can remind yourself of why you ended it in the first place. Okay, so what we're going to do, remember the first thing you're going to do, you're going to go back and you're going to remind yourself that these feelings are temporary and they're not going to last forever. Then you're going to think about all of the ways in which the diets you've done in the past have been damaging and toxic to not only your physical, but your mental. So those are the first two things I want you to do. Moving on to the next thing, I want you to really focus on wearing comfortable clothes. For me, that is my workout attire, leggings, a sports bra. That's what's going to make me feel comfortable. What I want you to try to avoid doing is putting on clothes that are going to feel restricting and uncomfortable, because it's going to make you think about your body more. One of the biggest things that I do not want you to do is maybe you feel bigger right now, so maybe that tempts you to step on the scale or to go try on a pair of pants to see if you can still fit it. Please, at all costs, try to avoid this. What's going to happen is it's going to turn into either more negativity or you accepting yourself. So what I mean by that is if you try on a pair of pants and they don't fit you like they used to, you're going to spiral down into even more negativity in your mindset, and it's going to be very bad. Same with stepping on the scale. We all know that pretty much tells us if we're going to have a good day or a bad day. So if you step on the scale and you're under, you're going to feel great about yourself. If you step on the scale and you're weighing more than you expected, you're going to feel terrible for the whole day. So try to avoid doing anything that's going to bring more body shape. Another thing on that would be like measuring your body. So like measuring your hips, waist, like try to throw all of those tools away and focus on wearing comfy clothes. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to focus on nourishing your body and drinking lots of water. So when I'm having a bad body image day, what helps me is making sure that I'm eating foods that I know that make me feel good. So I like to get back to my normal routine. If I've been gone for a weekend, I've probably been eating out. So getting back to my regular meals and cooking, eating at home, that's going to make me feel good, because in the past I know those foods make me feel nourished, they make me feel good, and they give me energy. Along with that, make sure you're drinking plenty of water, especially if you drink alcohol and you're dehydrated. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to focus on finding joyful movement. So I had a tendency in the past to just push through my training sessions when I came back from a vacation and I was having a bad body image day, even when I wasn't feeling it. And now what I like to do is focus on what actually sounds appealing to me. What can my body do right now that's going to make me feel good about myself? Because the other thing is, if I'm low energy and I'm dehydrated and I try to go do my training session, I'm not going to feel good, which means I'm going to have a bad workout, and then I'm going to feel even worse about myself. So focus on what you can do. Maybe that's going for a walk going for a bike ride, going for a swim, playing sports games outside like badminton or something if it's summertime, doing something that's going to be joyful. To finish, I know it's hard when you have a bad body image day, but again, I just want to remind you that first thing I said, that those feelings are temporary and they're not going to last forever. And if you ever feel like you're stuck and you can't find ways to cope for yourself, reach out to a friend, reach out to me, reach out to a therapist, reach out to someone who can help you work through that as well. Remember that it is temporary and it won't last forever. I hope that this helped you, and I hope that if you're having a bad body image day, you know that you are not alone. We are all experiencing this at some point in our life, and you're going to be able to get through this. If any of you are ever looking for help in intuitive eating, trying to find food freedom, trying to get away from that diet mentality, please reach out. I'm happy to help, and I'm here for you.